Let me quickly talk to you about the top 5 community bank EIN only business loans for startups and very young companies. Don't go anywhere. You're going to love today's conversation. I guarantee it. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you're all doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you were to ask me. If you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. In today's conversation, I want to talk to you about the top 5 community bank EIN only business loans for startup and very young companies. And this is an important topic. Why? Because if you are a startup or you have a very young company, chances are you might be struggling for cash right now, right? You need funding. And the thing here is that the big banks, they don't want to hear about you. They don't want to hear from you, right? And sometimes you have to go to alternative lenders, and they sometimes will also charge you a very high fee. So you're just sitting around and thinking, where else can I go? So, well, you can go to credit unions. And we've covered the constellation of credit unions where you can get loans. We've covered that on other shows. And in today's conversation, I want to talk to you about community bank. So what is a community bank? Very simple. A community bank is what the name implies. It is a bank that is locally owned and operated. The thing here is that when we speak about community, the community can have 100,000 people, or in some cases, 1 million people. This is why in today's conversation, we've seen that the FDIC has said the difference between a community bank and a regional bank, for that matter, is that a community bank has less than $10 billion in assets, whereas a regional bank has between 10 and 100. But the thing here is that we've seen in the industry in the last few years, there has been some kind of consolidation. In other words, the big regional banks are eaten. They're just acquiring the smaller community banks, or the banks that are operating in smaller communities, especially on the rural side of things, right, in rural areas. So it's kind of important to understand that. Now, the reason why for us it's important is because when you go to a community bank as a startup owner or as the owner of a very young company, you have more chances to be financed, especially if your startup is helping the local community. And they probably know you also, because the thing here is that you have to live, worship, or conduct business in a community to qualify for a loan or a credit card, okay? And so I'm showing you right now on the screen when we speak about community bank versus regional bank, we see the definition that the Federal Reserve has actually put forward. And what about credit union? The difference between a community bank and a credit union is it's really about the for-profit versus the non-for-profit. So I really want to dig a little deeper into the divergence, if you will, the difference between a credit union and community bank. So I want you to look on the screen right now. So we have actually concocted a very nice table for you. You can see in the tabular representation here that you have credit union in terms of fund safety, in terms of ownership, and then you have community bank also, right? Whether it is private or for profit. Whether it is private or public, rather. So you would see, for example, that some community banks are publicly traded, whereas you will never see a credit union being publicly traded. They're not even they're not for profit. So, okay, so they can't have investors or shareholders. Their members are shareholders when we speak about credit union. So customers also, you see the loans, and you see the strongest suit of a credit union versus a community bank. So when you go to a credit union, you are basically improving your chances of being approved. So for us, as we were doing research for this show, we wanted to focus on the community with this. We wanted to focus on the states with the largest populations. Why? Because when you speak about community banks, you want a bank that covers not just one state, what we call its primary geographical area, but also other states, and what we call the secondary areas or the ancillary areas. Okay, so we actually selected community banks or regional banks operating in the 10 most populous states in the nation focusing on banks that serve communities not only in the primary state, as I just said, but also in the neighboring or far-flung states. So we have California, Texas, Florida, New York, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Ohio, Georgia, North Carolina, and Michigan. So we also applied other criteria in our selection process. So I want you to check out the short video to learn more about our approach. We do have a strict approach when it comes to categorizing and choosing business loans and business credit cards on this show. Check this out. All right, folks. Number 5, we have BanCorp South. Our score, 8/10. This is a great bank. And when it comes to EIN only, business loans for startups and very young companies, you want to go to BanCorp South. And here are the business loan requirements. So time in business, 3 months. Minimum credit score, 550. Business revenue, $10,000 per month. Loan amount, $25,000 to $1 million. The estimated APR, 5.65% to 21.75%. The loan term will oscillate between 18 and 60 months. The auto pay discount, yes. There is no origination fee or prepayment fee or late fee. They do allow co-applicants and the time to funding 1 to 3 business days. And sometimes they might ask for personal guarantee depending upon the transaction. So BanCorp South is a great bank. Actually, they are located in Mississippi. And so their primary coverage is Mississippi. And their secondary coverage encompasses Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Arizona, Florida, Missouri, Tennessee, and Illinois. And the cool thing about this bank is that they actually are very close to their customers. They do have a program in-house to help startups, to help very young companies, especially the companies that actually operate in their primary and secondary coverage areas. Okay, and so when you sign up with BanCorp South, you have access to a constellation of products and services that are tailored to small to medium-sized businesses. Not only do they offer business loans and credit cards, they also offer other kinds of services, financing and non-financing, that help you as a small business owner actually move forward. And this is a bank that has received a lot of accolades in the last few years. Great bank. And one thing I want to say also is that they are actually a legit bank. Of course, they are legit. They are publicly traded, okay, which adds more, I would say, more credibility to their processes because they have to file regulatory reports every quarter or every month or every year. So they are actually traded under the BXS ticker symbol on the New York Exchange. Okay, so this is a great bank. BanCorp South, our score 8/10. Number 4, folks, we have here Renaissance Bank. Our score 8.5/10. And this is a great bank, especially when it comes to business loans. They actually have a program also in-house to accompany, if you will, small business owners, whether they are at the startup stage or at the very young business stage, to actually move forward. That is excellent. And business loan requirements, time in business, minimum 4 months, minimum credit score 565, business revenue $5,000 per month. That's the minimum. The loan amount will oscillate between $10,000 and $350,000. The APR will fluctuate between 750 to 1850%. The loan term 12 to 48 months, and they don't have auto pay. That's the only thing we don't like. I mean, with Renaissance, so if you have an account with them, right? So if you have an account with them and you sign up for auto pay, they're still charging you the same rate. So I think they need to sort of update their software, their lending practices there, because they might be losing some customers. But that's beside the point. No origination fee, no prepayment fee, no late fee. They do allow co-applicants time to funding 1 to 4 days. Personal guarantee, no. So when we speak about Renaissance Bank, the bank covers, so the primary coverage is Mississippi, sorry, the primary coverage. So the bank has two coverage areas, right? Like we said. So you have the primary coverage, and then you have the secondary coverage. So the primary coverage is Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. And the secondary coverage is Arkansas. You have Louisiana, and then you have Texas. And it's important to understand that when we speak about EIN only, business loans for startups and very young companies, with Renaissance Bank, you have a constellation of loans. So you have financial, they have agricultural loans, they have financial arrangements for things like leasing, for things like commercial real estate. They actually also finance real estate construction loans for the construction of single family residential properties. So they also finance small commercial projects that actually are happening in the regions that they cover. So this is really good. So Renaissance Bank, our score 8.5 over 10. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another section of the Awesome Suite Kiwi Show. We are still having a conversation about the top 5 community bank EIN only business loans for startups and very young companies. Number 3, we have First Midwest Bank. Our score 9 over 10. And the business loan requirements for this bank are very, very solid, especially when you are a startup and you're kind of struggling to find financing here and there. This is a bank that you might want to reach out to if you live in the area, if you worship in the area, or if you do business in the area. Okay. What are those requirements? Time in business, 6 months. Minimum credit score, 580. Business revenue, $7,500 per month. Loan amounts will oscillate between $50,000 and $450,000. The estimated APR, 6.25% to 14.75%. Loan term will go somewhere from 1 year to 5 years. They do have auto pay, which is fantastic. We love that. The origination fee is nil, zero, no prepayment fee, no late fee. And they do allow co-applicants. This is really good, especially if you have a bad credit or you're just trying to improve your chances of being approved. Then it's kind of cool to have a co-borrower with you. And the time to funding, 1 to 4 days. When it comes to personal guarantee, they might request it, they might require that on some transactions. For example, when the loan amounts are kind of high, so you can see, as I told you, the loan amount range is 50,000 to 450,000. So once you start going above $250,000 all the way to 400 to 450, they might require a personal guarantee. And so when we speak about the First Midwest Bank, we are talking about their primary coverage that encompasses Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, and Iowa. Okay. And then we have the secondary coverage. We do have Minnesota, we have Mississippi, we have Kentucky, we have Tennessee, and Arkansas. So this is kind of cool. This is very important to remember that. And one thing I also want to say here is that this bank is actually traded publicly, and they are under the ticker symbol FMBI. Okay, FMBI, fantastic. Number 2, folks, we have here the National Bank of Arizona. Our score 9.5 over 10. This is a great bank, folks. I mean, the whole team was flabbergasted when we actually did the research, and we we dug a little deeper, and we found this bank is doing something fantastic. They've been kicking ass like crazy. I mean, their processes are fantastic. Their lending business model is great. They are pretty close to their customers, and we love the fact that they're constantly innovating. Okay, so what are the business loan requirements here? Time in business, 3 months. Minimum credit score, 500. Business revenue, $10,000 per month. The loan amounts $25,000 to $750,000, so $750,000. The estimated APR, 8.25% all the way to 17.95%. The loan term, 12 to 72 months. The auto pay discounts, they do have that. Origination fee, no. Prepayment fee, no. Late fee, no. And they do allow co-applicants, so this is pretty good, right? As I always say, it's all about making sure that you get the help you need if you can't get the loan by yourself. So this is really good. And the time to funding, 1 to 3 days, and personal guarantee, yes, no, depending upon the transaction. And usually, when we speak about personal guarantee in those business loan arrangements, it's all about the risk that the lender sees, right? And most likely, their risk will go up the longer the term. So, and the longer the term, and the larger the amount. So, if you want to borrow $500,000 or $750,000 from National Bank of Arizona, of course, they might be asking for a personal guarantee. But if you're just borrowing smaller amounts, then they might just, let it pass. So what is the primary coverage here? Primary coverage, Arizona and Utah. Secondary coverage, California, Colorado, Idaho, Nevada, New Mexico, Oregon, Texas, Washington State, and Wyoming. And this company is traded under the symbol Zion, so Z-I-O-N. Okay, so this is a publicly traded company. In other words, National Bank of Arizona is part of Zion's Bank Corporation, National Association. Number one, folks, when we speak about the best, in our view, when we speak about the best EIN only, business loans from a community bank for startups and very young companies, we have Tri-Counties Bank. Our score, 10 over 10. TriCo, as it is called. So what are the business loan requirements here? So time in business, 6 months. Minimum credit score, 5.525. Business revenue, $10,000 per month. The loan amount is a very generous range. So we're looking at $50,000 all the way to $1 million. The APR will oscillate between 4.99% and 19.63%. The loan term, 18 to 72 months. They do have a discount for auto pay. So if you have a checking account with them and you agree to pay the loans automatically every month, they will give you a discount on the APR. Origination fee, 0. Prepayment fee, 0. Late fee, 0. They do allow co-applicants, okay, and the time to funding, 2 to 5 days. And personal guarantee, yes or no, depending upon, as I said earlier, depending upon the situation, the loan amounts, the industry your business is in, as well as the maturity of the loan. So how long you want to, because the loan term will fluctuate between 18 and 72 months. So say if you want to repay them within 72 months and you want to borrow 1 million, the risk is higher, right? Versus if you just want to borrow, let's say $500,000 and you want to repay them within 2 years. So the risk that I'm just talking about here, the risk that leads to personal guarantee is a direct reflection of a series of factors, including the maturity, the loan amount, and the creditworthiness of the applicants. And when we speak about TriCo, Tri-Counties Bank, they do cover primarily California. This is their primary coverage area. And their secondary coverage is in Oregon, Nevada, Washington State, and Arizona. Arkansas, rather. So my point here is that if you are in those areas, if you have some kind of affiliation with those areas, with those states, whether because you do business there or because you live there or because you worship there, you can apply for a TriCo's bank loan. And the bank is publicly traded. So they're traded under a TriCo bank shares on the NASDAQ stock exchange under the ticker symbol TCBK. Thank you so much for your attention, folks. I really appreciated it. I was talking to you about the top 5 community banks, EIN only, business loans for startups and very young companies. Let's do a quick recap here. Number 1, Tri-Counties Bank, 10 over 10. Number 2, we have the National Bank of Arizona, 9.5 over 10. Number 3, we have the First Midwest Bank, 9 over 10. Number 4, we have Renaissance Bank, 8.5 over 10. And number 5, last but not the least, we have BanCorp South, 8/10. Thank you so much for your attention, folks. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.